Hello. So, as you may or may not have realized, it's been a little while since I posted. I guess it's far from the longest hiatus I've had. It's only been 2 weeks or so. But, but yeah, the reason for that is because I have decided to spend that time, well, first of all, enjoying the holidays, and second of all, working on a little project of mine. That project being this video. Um, yeah, as you may realize, it is, the 2010s have come to an end. It is now a new decade. Um, Granted, I hear that some people have been debating that, saying that, it should officially begin in 2021, but I hear those people were mainly millennials, so, yeah, I would say take that as you will. Um, anyway, so, since it's, the end of one decade, the beginning of another, I thought this would be a good time to kind of count down my favorite movies of this decade, or of the previous decade. Um, yeah, I don't think any animated movies have been released in this one yet. Give it a couple days. Anyway, yeah, so truth be told, this is actually kind of what inspired my interest in starting this whole watching every animated movie series. Like, it started with me wanting to do a countdown of my favorite movies of the 2000, or my favorite animated movies of the 2010s. Um, and then, I also became interested in counting down my favorite movies of other decades, all the previous decades. Also kind of to compare and contrast the differences, or compare and contrast the different decades. Um, but yeah, I thought it sounded really fun, and I realized there was a way I could you know, kind of search online for all these animated movies, and I soon decided, yeah, it would be fun to go back and explore the history of animated films, and including movies I've never heard of before. So yeah, um, and yeah, naturally I haven't gotten to the 2010s yet. I still have a couple more decades to get through. I'm, halfway through the 70s at this point. So yeah, naturally I haven't seen every animated movie of the 2010s, and there's some pretty notable ones that I hear a lot of people really love. But yeah, this is kind of a this is kind of a, what do you call it? Just the incomplete version of the list. It's my favorite movies that I've seen from from the previous decade. Um, you know, uh, there's a lot of movies that a lot of people love, but I haven't seen them, or maybe I saw it once, but you know, I can't remember everything about it, and there's not full appreciation for it or whatever. Um, so yeah, this list is temporary. Naturally, later on, I plan to watch every movie from the 2010s, or just go through history, watch every animated movie I can find. up to the 2010s, or up to the present, you know what I mean. Um, so, yeah, naturally by then I'll probably find some other movies that, deserve to be in such a list as this. But for the time being, I have found 5 movies that I legitimately love, and, all of them are at least 9 stars out of 10, so that's definitely saying something. I mean, one thing I will say about decades and pretty much all kinds of art is, but specifically animated movies in this case, is that the good stuff has gotten better over the years overall. Granted, the bad stuff has kind of gotten worse and worse, but yeah, the opposite is true. Um, and yeah, I just thought, since the previous decade has recently ended, I thought it would be a good time to cover my favorite movies from this decade. I spent the last couple of weeks watching a bunch of movies, most of which, were at least in consideration for the list. Um, but yeah, there were a few that I mostly just watched because I wanted to watch them again. So yeah, yeah, I got a pile of 12 movies behind me that I just recently watched, and kind of gauge their pros and cons, how much I enjoyed them. Um, so yeah, I guess I'm rambling a bit. I should probably get to it. So yeah, I shall talk about my 5 favorite movies from this decade, at least for the time being. But I guess first, some honorable mentions. So I'll start with the movies that I don't have, that I haven't watched recently. But okay, so let's start with the obvious absentee from the top 5 list that you can't really talk about animated movies of the 2010s without bringing this one up. Frozen. As I may have pointed out in previous videos of mine, I'm not really a fan of this. It doesn't really do much for me. I mean, it's got great animation and, maybe 1 or 2 decent songs that I guess I kind of enjoy, but yeah, otherwise, it's, yeah, it just doesn't do very much for me, and there's a couple things in it that get on my nerves. I'll go into more detail with it when I get to it, assuming I ever do. I mean, yeah, I'm about 40 years away from that in my venture through animated film history. Anyway, personally, I'd probably say I kind of like the sequel a little more. I mean, yeah, that one definitely had some issues, but I don't know. It kind of felt like a bigger adventure, kind of interested me more. I learned a little more about the characters, I don't know. It's complicated. I'd have to watch both of these movies again to really gauge which one I actually like better, even though objectively, I guess the first one does have, or it is more solid, at least to most other people's eyes, so yeah. So yeah, I do find Frozen overrated, but yeah, I'll give it an honorable mention for this list since I know a lot of people love it. But yeah, there's also a lot of people who don't like it, and yeah, somebody who's in that crowd. Anyway, I guess some other honorable mentions. Tangled. I saw that movie once, and I really liked it. I'd have to see it again to really gauge how much I really like it. But yeah, needless to say, in the war between Team Frozen and Team Tangled, I'm with Team Tangled, I guess. Um, let's see. I guess I'll bring up the. Well, let me see. There's Moana, which I liked. It's a little paint by numbers with its Disney storyline, but I kind of like the adventure and the characters, and yeah, the music's good. Yeah, I like it. Um, let's see. I guess How to Train Your Dragon movies. Again, I'll have to watch all of them again because let me see. I remember not thinking that much of the first one when I saw it, but maybe a second viewing might help me appreciate it more. Um, so yeah, and but I did like the second one, and I also like the third one. So yeah, someday I'll watch all of them again, and I'll decide what I officially think of the series. But yeah, I respect these movies. Um, so I guess I'll now get to my pile of my movie collection. So well, at the top, this is a very minor honorable mention, but the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water. Um, yeah, it's definitely not worthy of making like a best list of the decade, but it's still very charming. It's amusing. It's fun. It's SpongeBob. And I guess it all comes down to whether or not you like SpongeBob. But yeah. Um, but yeah, I just thought I'd bring that up since that was one of the movies I watched, mostly because I just wanted to watch it a second time. Um, I bought the DVD forever ago, and yeah, I've been holding on to it. So anyway, all right. So next I got Coco. So this is another movie I find a little overrated. I actually do think it's a pretty good movie. Um, yeah, I think it's a good movie, but again, there are some things that kind of annoy me in this movie, and um, also it's kind of frustrating how hard it is to find people who agree with me that it's overrated. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen very many not. I haven't seen very many reviews that don't praise the hell out of this movie. Like, um, you know, Chris Stuckman did a review of it, and he was a little mixed on it. He gave it a B plus, but yeah, his commenters are like mostly like, "Oh, that's not high enough. You should have given it an A or an A plus." Yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't, I wouldn't rate it that high. In fact, I'd probably rate it a little lower than B plus, maybe B minus. I don't know. It's a good movie. I just there's it's got some solid world building. I like the world in general. Um, relatable protagonist. I like the themes of, music, the mariachi music, the Mexican culture we explore, um, all the stuff about, death and, being forgotten after you die. Those are some interesting themes. It's just that, some aspects of the storytelling I find rather clunky, and yeah, there's quite a few stupid parts in it that keep me from, hopping on the bandwagon with all those other people. I'm just not caught up in the hype with this one, so I still think it's a good movie. It's just not great in my opinion. So yeah, I'm sorry if I pissed off any of you Coco fans out there. I know there's a lot of you. Anyway, alright, so next I got Wreck-It Ralph. Again, solid world building, some great characters. It's a love letter to video games and arcades. The relationship between Ralph and Vanellope really makes it. And yeah, it's a fun little world they build. There's not a whole lot of depth to the story. It's pretty simple, but I don't know. There's still quite a bit to appreciate it. Appreciate in this movie. So yeah, it's definitely an honorable mention for me. And then I got Toy Story 3 and 4. So what impresses me about the Toy Story movies is that they do pour a lot of heart into every one of them. They find unique ways to keep the story going. Granted, like, each movie gets a little weaker than the last, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. I'm a little back and forth with the first two, but I don't know. I mostly hold the first one dear to my nostalgic heart. But yeah, the second one's definitely an excellent sequel, and yeah, the third one's a great conclusion. It's got some repetitive elements, and let's see, yeah, there's some predictable parts, but yeah, it's still a great way to cap off the trilogy until the fourth movie came along, and it may not have been needed, but I still think it's a fun movie for what it is. It is the weakest of the 4 Toy Story movies, but I still give it an 8 out of 10. So yeah, that's definitely saying something for these movies. There's some great new characters, and they improve on some old characters. Not all the characters are utilized to their best, like Buzz, and all the old extras like Slinky and Jessie and stuff. But yeah, it's still, I guess they knew how to keep the story going. So yeah, and they found another way to kind of bring some kind of story full circle with this. There'll probably be more, but there's ways they could maybe make the 5th one work. Maybe, we'll see. But hopefully for now they take a break from these movies. So yeah. Okay, so those are my official honorable mentions. So yeah, 18 and a half minutes in. I know it's it's already been about as long as your average Mash It review vlog. But anyway, yeah, so let's get to the main list, the top 5. Okay, so at number 5 we have the Lego Movie. So this is an interest. Like, when I first saw this movie, it was an interesting experience because I actually hated like the first half of it when I first saw it. I thought it was kind of stupid and annoying, and everything's just so over the top. But about halfway into the movie, like, I remember I was legitimately thinking of walking out. I was actually thinking of seeing that RoboCop remake instead. But yeah, about halfway through the movie, things slowly started to, rebuild, if you will, since we're talking about Legos. And, it's, yeah, and the further along we went, the more I liked it, and then by the end, I'm like, my opinion on it did a complete 180, um, and yeah, rewatching it now, I also appreciate the first half as well. I don't know, it was just something about my tastes in animated films. I kind of had a bit of an aversion to over the top comedy, but watching this movie again, it's you really learn to appreciate the comedy. I mean, for some people, or for most people, like, the first viewing was all it took, but I'm just saying for me. But yeah, now I love this movie. It's yeah. It's got a great imaginative world. Um, the whole world is like literally a childlike imagination, or it's like it's what you get when you get a kid playing with Legos and this big world of Legos. And yeah, and the plot twist near the end of the movie definitely brings that full circle, and it also helps you appreciate all the goofy comedy all the more since you know what the twist is. So, and there's some great lessons in the movie, like they build up the main character as this chosen one character, called the Special. And then by the end, we get a little twist that everyone's special in their own unique ways, and everybody's important. You know, so it's like it has a message about teamwork and how working together helps solve things, and that sounds very schmaltzy when I say it like that, but yeah, it's in fact, I think the message can overall be emphasized in the theme song of the movie. Everything is awesome. Like some of the lyrics do seem to, like, everything is cool when you're part of the team. Yeah, it just seems to further emphasize the final message of the film, and yeah, there's some great character development. And yeah, it's just an excellent kids movie. It's imaginative. It's got all these characters that from like other properties like Batman, and yeah, it's their own unique take on all these characters. And then there's all these great, memorable, original characters. So yeah, it's yeah. Not much else to say about this movie except everything is awesome. So yeah, and I'm also gonna give a quick shout out to the other Lego movies. We got Lego Batman, which it's not as good as the original Lego movie, obviously, but there's still a lot of imaginative world building, some great character development. It's still funny. Yeah, yeah, it can be a little flawed and clunky here and there, but still, I like Lego Batman as well. Lego Ninjago is pretty forgettable. Hold on. I don't know. I guess I liked it okay when I saw it. It's the only Lego movie that I don't have on me right now. But yeah, it's got its moments. So yeah, just kind of forgettable compared to the other Lego movies. And then finally the sequel, the official sequel to Lego Movie 2, the second part. Yeah, I still like Lego Movie 2. It's it still has its moments. It's still very imaginative. It's still got some memorable characters. But yeah, it's clunky compared to the first one, and, the message is kind of ham fisted, a little preachy. Um, yeah, there's a couple elements in that movie that kind of get on my nerves, but whatever. As a sequel to the first Lego movie, I mean, the first Lego movie set a pretty high bar, so it would have been hard to reach it either way. But yeah, either way, yeah, Lego movie is definitely an excellent movie, and yeah, it's a worthy entry in this top 5 list. So yeah, again, everything is awesome. All right, moving on. So, number 4 is what I would consider the most underappreciated movie out of this, out of my top 5. And I might even kind of credit it as like the movie that inspired me to make these kinds of lists in the first place, and therefore, yeah, you might say this movie single-handedly inspired me to start up this Mash It review series, just all these animated movie reviews. So yeah, number 4 is Kubo and the Two Strings. So this is from Laika Studios. Very, a very underappreciated animation studio. They make some great stop motion animation. And overall, I pretty much like all of their movies. I like their movies. Coraline, I mean, it's the one movie that they made that wasn't made in the last decade, but Coraline is a great, little, what's the word, macabre, dark kids movie. It's got all the elements of what's his name, Henry Selick, who did Nightmare Before Christmas. It's got plenty of his charm, some very imaginative moments. Gets a little silly at times, but yeah, it's still a great kids movie, or it's a great movie in general. Paranorman's great too. It's got a great message. Gets a little ham-fisted at times. Box Trolls, still enjoyable. It's probably the weakest, or actually between Box Trolls and Missing Link, it's kind of hard to pick which one's the weakest, but they still both have like plenty of charm to them, so I still like those movies too, or like those movies. Anyway, yeah, so let's move on to their magnum opus, in my opinion. So, yeah, Kubo and the Two Strings naturally did not make back much money, but, I saw it. I went and paid to see it in the theater, and I'm very glad that I did. And, I'm also glad that I bought it on Blu-ray. Yeah, it's a great movie. I love the animation. I love the Japanese culture aesthetics. The characters are great, especially Monkey. She steals the whole movie. Yeah, her dry wit and all that stuff. Let's see. There's some great messages about family and, there's those who are important to you, and then there's also, there's going to be some family members who aren't so great, as emphasized with the villains of the movie. But yeah, it's a great movie about family, and there's a lot of enjoyable Japanese folklore, and the animation just works so well with it. And yeah, there's quite a few scenes in this movie that legitimately make me blubber like a whale. I won't lie. Like, something about the opening scene where, like, the mother cracks her head on a rock, and then we see Kubo as, after years have gone by, we see Kubo having to take care of her as, while she's catatonic. I don't know why that makes me so teary-eyed, but it does. I don't know, I feel this movie deserved a lot better than what it got. It's a real pity that, Laika really does deserve to be successful, but yeah, there's just something about their movies that's not pulling in a giant crowd. So yeah, that's a real pity, but yeah. Either way, I love this movie. It could definitely use a little more appreciation, so yeah. Also, I love the cover of While My Guitar Gently Weeps, sung by Regina Spektor with all the Japanese instruments and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, overall, yeah, great movie. Okay, so number 3. This was the movie that. So going into this, I pretty much already had the other 4 movies picked out. Like, I knew that they were going to make the list pretty much. So I kind of had to look around a bit for the 5th one. But, ultimately I decided. After watching the movie a second time, I decided, yeah, it's excellent. So, yeah, that movie is Zootopia. So, yeah, it's, well, first of all, the movie's got, like, a very important message. It's got a couple important messages, but most of all, it's got the message about how we should all get along. Well, that's a simple way of putting it, but, there's some people out there that, judge other people unfairly based on things that are beyond their control, and, they think that certain aspects of them are to be judged, things that, yeah, it's a message that means a lot to me, especially in this day and age when we're all so divided. And, yeah, so it's a very valuable message, and, about judging, others, and, I feel this, the message of this movie can be applied to all sorts of people, and, and I kind of feel like when people just think it's okay to hate like this group of people for something that they didn't choose, it just undervalues what this movie's going for, and I feel you should apply the movie's message to like everyone. I mean, we should be judged on the content of our character. But yeah, aside from that, the movie's very imaginative. It's got a great world. That the city is imaginative in general. It's got all these fun, memorable characters, specifically the 2 leads. And what else? I mean, yeah, it's funny. There's a lot of funny scenes in this. So yeah, I mean, I feel I can say a lot more about all of these movies if I did a more scripted review. As you can see, I'm not really the best at coming up with all my opinions on these off the cuff, but still, it's, I say what naturally comes to mind, and yeah, with this movie. It's got an excellent message, great world building, and solid characters, and yeah, it's also funny and it can also be sad at some points. So yeah, I guess there's not much else I need to add for now. I'm sure I'll go into more detail with this one, assuming I get to it in my, you know, journey through animated film history. So anyway, oh, well, one more thing I will add about that movie. It is ironic that I put it over Kubo because, originally I thought Kubo deserved to win the Oscar for animated feature, but, I was forgiving enough. I felt Zootopia had a good enough message that it deserved the Oscar. So, but yeah, after watching it again, I've pretty much decided I think I do actually like it a little more than Kubo, but just a little bit. And, maybe I'll change my mind when I see these movies again, My mind, yeah, everyone's mind changes about things they like, so yeah. Anyway, so it is kind of ironic that in these 5 movies, only 2 of them are from Disney, and yeah, here's the other one, Inside Out. So yeah, I did touch on this movie when I did that video where I ranked all of the Pixar movies that have been released up to that point. Yeah, the most recent one was Good Dinosaur. And yeah, this movie came out the same year, and yeah, naturally it's a much better movie. And yeah, if you've seen that video, you'll know that I ranked it as my second favorite Pixar movie behind the original Toy Story. So yeah, I actually just watched this movie again because yeah, I decided to save it for last, basically. Yeah, I just watched it like a little while ago, but anyway, at least at the time I'm recording this. Okay, so first of all, great characters, great, great world building. We see all the little machinations of Riley's mind, and it's interesting how this world kind of, in building this world, we also kind of we delve into the complexities of Riley, and she's not like a super complex character or anything. It's just that we, how we explore what's going through her head and everything. And yeah, I will say again that, like I said in that other video, that it is kind of annoying that when we go into the other people's heads, it's all kind of reduced to, simple jokes like, yeah, the mother and father stereotypes. There's a teenage boy who freaks out when he sees Riley because she's a girl, all that stuff. There's a bus driver and all of his emotions are anger. Yeah, those are one-note gags, and yeah, it's kind of works against what makes this movie so excellent, but I don't know, that's a little flaw with an otherwise great movie. It's and this is probably the movie with the most sad moments. Yeah, I guess Kubo and yeah, maybe 1 or 2 of the other entries in the list might have their share of sad moments, but yeah, naturally a movie that explores emotions is going to have some sad stuff in it. And yeah, again, it's got a great message at the end. So yeah, it's I love the movie to death. I think the experience might have gone down a bit because I watched it like so many times in the last couple years. Or not that many times, but like I think this was like my fifth time watching it. But still, it's such a great movie, and yeah. I mean, assuming you haven't seen it, I'm sure most people have. I definitely recommend it. I recommend all of these movies, maybe even the ones, maybe even the honorable mentions. So yeah. What, is there anything else to add? I mean, it's Pixar at their best, basically. Um, so yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that for now. Um, so yeah, for number one, I wasn't entirely sure if where I would rank this at first when I first saw it, but after I saw it, I knew that I was planning to put it in this list. And yeah, so number one is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So this movie is one big love letter to just everything Spider-Man. All the different iterations, and yeah, from what I understand, all of these, these other iterations of Spider-Man do come from actual comics, like Spider-Ham and yeah, the anime girl and stuff. Yeah, Penny, that's her name. I'm not gonna. Let's see. The animation is super unique. It's very stylish. There's all the stylish imagery. It feels like a comic book come to life, and we got this relatable protagonist, and all of these other memorable, the other Spider-Man characters are very memorable and very likable. Very fun. Uh, we also have these fun villains. Or let me see, let's see, Kingpin is, kind of has a nice Shakespearean story, so, yeah, and he's got an interesting design to say the least. His, shape overall. And yeah, female Doc Ock, she's a lot of fun. And yeah, all the other little side villains. And yeah, a couple twists and turns the movie takes. Let's see. And the music's very solid. I mean, the interesting thing about the music in this movie is that I think most of the songs are the kinds of music that I don't really care that much for, but in the context of this movie, it really works for me. And yeah, it really sets a nice tone, and I love the whole urban setting. And yeah, it's fun, it's stylish, it's action-packed, it's got great character development, it's funny, it also has some sad scenes. It's the whole package. It's pretty much everything you could ask for from an animated film. So yeah, this is, I'm not entirely sure what I would rate this. It gets a 9 at least, but it might even get a 10. That's how much I love it, because, I don't give 10s very easily. I feel a movie needs to be, close to perfect to get a 10. So far, going through all those old animated movies, the only one that's gotten a perfect 10 so far is Fantasia. But yeah, point being, I don't give 10s very easily, but I might give one to this movie. And yeah, I just love it. I love all these top 5 movies. And yeah, again, I'm not the most charismatic when I do these reviews off the cuff, but there's still just so much to love in these films, specifically this one. Like, yeah, I was reluctant at first to give it the number one spot on the list, but after watching it again, I pretty much decided, you know what, this deserves to be number one. And yeah. So, I guess that's all there is to say for now. We've gone over 45 minutes now. Although naturally, with all these movies I'm talking about. And again, I'll go into more detail with these movies once I get to them in my, chronological journey through animated film history. But yeah, for now, I just wanted to do this little list and kind of get my thoughts across. And again, if once I actually go through the 2010s and my journey, the journey, yeah, I'm sure there'll be other movies that, I'm not sure how effectively they can make it into, make it on top of any of these movies, but, we'll see. You never know. And, I might change my mind about the placement of some of them. But, yeah, otherwise, I think I would definitely say these are my 5 favorite movies of the decade, and, yeah, I guess I probably wouldn't say this has been, like, the best decade in animated movies in general, but, like I said, when they got it right, they really hit it out of the park, Yeah, like I said, the good stuff has only gotten better over the years in general. Bad stuff has gotten worse, I guess, but yeah, I'm not going to do a worst list right now. We'll wait until I actually watch all those terrible movies, which probably won't be for a while. I'm going to hold it off as long as I can. But yeah, overall, I'd still say this has been a very good decade for animated films, and yeah, I wish animation overall as an art form would be appreciated more, and yeah, these 5 movies are all great examples of why it should be appreciated more, and there's great messages in all of them, there's great moments, memorable characters, just all that stuff that you learn to appreciate. So yeah, I mean, I struggle to find the right words, but yeah, I think after watching all these movies again, yeah, finding my top 5 has been very easy, and yeah, I love all 5 of them. So, how to close this movie? Well, overall, it's been an interesting decade, and here's to the 2020s. I look forward to seeing what kinds of movies in general, but especially animated movies, come out this decade. So, I guess I'm going to leave it at that. I guess as usual, if there's anything else I feel I need to add, I'll put it in the comments. Regarding any of these movies I've talked about. But yeah, otherwise, I guess I'll leave it at that for now. So yeah, Mash It and Smash It signing off.